Hi, this is Gideon Fidelzeid, Managing Editor of PRWeek. I am very pleased to be joined today by the CEO of Saxum, Renzi Stone. Renzi, you came all the way from Oklahoma City to visit with us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Gideon. Always worth the trip to come see PRWeek in New York.
I really appreciate that. And I, of course, had the pleasure of reciprocating that last week when I visited Renzi's neck of the woods, Oklahoma City, for the Energy Roundtable, which, by the way, will be appearing in our June issue. And I actually want to start there. One of the topics that we talked about the Energy Roundtable, and quite frankly, it's a word that everyone's heard a lot of lately, is fracking. Fracking is one of the ways that America is really achieving energy independence. And I want you to talk a little bit about how that message is being told to the broader American public.
Well, fracking has been around forever, but really why fracking has gained such notoriety is because these wells that they're now drilling go down and then they go horizontally. Mm-hmm. And so you have wells that used to just go straight down. They would frack the well, which means they would send an electric charge through the earth. It would crack the shale and gas would pour in, or oil. Mm-hmm. Well, the liquid play that they're in now, all these fracking jobs are going horizontal. Mm-hmm. And I think what's really happened is production has increased so much in this country because of this one technology, the horizontal drilling wells, that we're now putting more scrutiny on fracking than ever before. The industry hasn't done enough yet of explaining what the fracking really is. Mm-hmm. You have environmentalists who are upset at water that goes into these wells when the wells are fracked. You have people who are concerned about earthquakes. I think all of this will sort out. It's just going to take time. Mm-hmm. It's relatively new in how we're fracking these wells. And the message is good. The safety precautions are over the top. It is highly regulated. But the industry must pull together and continue to hone its message to be one towards energy independence and towards the safety that's involved when they do these wells.
Terrific. And another message that the energy industry seems to be having a little bit of trouble getting out there, all the CSR and the environmental concerns that people have over fracking and other activities that the energy industry is involved in. Other things that the energy industry does are all the jobs that it brings to people in this country. There's just so many messages beyond the price at the pump, which is what everyone seems to think about. So as a communicator, a leading communicator in the industry, and I certainly put you in that class, how is the industry doing in terms of talking about those other messages?
Well, I think when you think back a generation ago, and you think about oil companies, right? The gas companies were out there, but it was oil that we all focused on because of gasoline. Mm-hmm. It used to be the oil executive would tell the PR team, here's what our message is. And over the course of the last 25 years, the PR team has found its way to the table and been able to gain enough influence with the management team, or sometimes they even sit on the management team, which is obviously the best thing for a communications professional to be in a major corporation. And they say, don't tell me what to say, show me what we're doing. Right? It's a big difference.
Yes.
And so what I think we've seen communicators do a better job at is telling the stories of what's already happening. The landowner who had been farming for a generation and just scraping by on ends meet, now turning into a royalty owner and making money off the minerals under his ground. The service provider who is an electrician of some kind that was working for a mom and pop electrician company, but now is working on an oil rig and working as an electrician. The truck driver who is now driving equipment or water or any of the other materials that go into drilling a well. The truck driver whose life has literally been changed because of the boom in this industry. And then talking to the local communities, the splash pad in the town that didn't have a swimming pool. The community square, which needed a lead gift from the Chamber of Commerce to redevelop their community square. The oil and gas industry and the energy industry as a whole, they've been doing this over the last 10 or 15 years really well. They're highlighting them in CSR reports. However, we have not quite gotten to the point where that message is broad enough. And so, a lot of these guys are so humble, the entrepreneurs who started these energy companies. Now, I'm not talking about the biggest of the companies, but most wells are drilled by independent drillers. Most of them are so humble, they don't want to talk about what they've done in the community. So our job, logically, is to say, it's important that people know. And it connects directly to our reputation.
Terrific. Wow. Now, have a little fun here. I would venture to say, and Renzi is about to prove this, his background is probably unique. Well, it is unique. In fact, I would venture to say he is probably the only CEO in the PR industry who was a starting center, I think it was center, for a major college basketball team, the University of Oklahoma. I believe you played overseas for a year, and you're 6'9", and you have a mean hook shot. Not exactly the resume of most agency CEOs. So if you could briefly talk a little bit about that incredibly unique background and how you went from, dribbling on the court to helping clients in the PR arena.
Yeah, so playing at the University of Oklahoma was such an honor, and I played in 4 straight NCAA tournaments, and we won a lot of games while I was there. But I'll tell you, I always tell people that the best class I took in college was basketball, and they do exactly that. They do what Gideon did, which is laugh. But what it taught me are so many of the intangible leadership skills that I use in my agency today.
Okay.
One of the things, I played for Kelvin Sampson, who now coaches the Houston Rockets as their lead assistant coach. And one of the things he always said, made a huge deal about, was touching the line. And so when you're running a wind sprint and you have a certain amount of time you have to finish it in, you have to figure out how to get down and back in a certain amount of time. And I remember one time I missed the line by about that much. And he stopped and he made me do it again. And he said, you'll have the chance in life to skip touching the line all the time. But I hope this is a good example for you to remember that line's there for a reason and you need to touch it. The team at the office, I like the PR industry as a whole. I work with a majority of women. Not all of them understand my basketball analogies quite as well as I'd like, but they've learned to be patient with me as I give them. But sports is a great metaphor for life. And so many of those lessons have translated really well, and it certainly is where I get my competitive streak from.
That's terrific. And I did notice a couple of Nerf hoops in his office when I was there, so the basketball background is definitely evident there.
No ping pong tables at Saxum, only basketball balls.
Well, I don't think you played ping pong in Oklahoma, or did you? Well, maybe that's for another day. Thank you so much for coming to New York today and visiting with us. And again, it's a real pleasure seeing you last week in Oklahoma City. And again, the Energy Roundtable, sponsored by Saxum, is going to be in the June issue. You definitely want to check that out, along with the rest of the issue, which is going to be focusing on reputation. Renzi, thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks, Gideon.